A young virgin, heartbroken, sobs pitifully late at night. He looks at his phone screen, and there is a message that says, "Chen Yuan, let us break up." Overwhelmed by emotions, he composed his response anxiously, inquiring as to what was wrong. Unable to accept the truth of his situation, he also asks her if she and her roommate are playing truth or dare, telling his ex-girlfriend Tong Tong that he takes their relationship very seriously. As the conversation becomes increasingly one-sided, he tries to persuade her not to end their relationship. After sending the tortured sticker, he asks if there is anything he is doing wrong and mentions that he has already been thinking about their future. They will have a happy family, 2 lovely children, their own home and car in the future, and he will work hard to make this all a reality. Still crying like the bitch of a simp he is, he tries to inquire if it is because he was unable to purchase the special bag she desired, and if so, he apologizes for being a broke simp, but he has been saving so that he will be able to purchase it next month after his living expenses are disclosed. Chen Yuan's delusional world crumbles as tears stream down his miserable face and snot drools from his nose, and a system notification stating that Tong Tong has enabled friend verification clearly conveys the realization that he has been blocked. If you are not his or her friend, please send Tong Tong a friend verification request, and the other person will be able to chat only after passing the verification. Chen Yuan feels as though his life has been drained by this, as he reclines in his chair and muses over what life would be like without love. An excited roommate immediately approached and announced loudly that Brother Yu is playing black. They are a team of 4, and they are currently short on 1 player, so will he join them? But his joy is tempered by Chen Yuan's palpable sadness. He returns to the game, smiles faintly, and apologizes for bothering Chen Yuan. Chen Yuan slammed his fist on the table, spilling his noodles, then flipped his chair and stormed out of the room, slamming the door shut, leaving his roommates surprised as they stared at the door, prompting one roommate to wonder if this was another breakup tantrum, and the other guy confirms that this is the 6th breakup since this month. They continue to elaborate that this is Chen Yuan, the guy famous for his PhD in simping, to which one agreed and added that Chen Yuan has been simping over his classmate Shutong for 3 years. Recalling that Chen Yuan once embarrassed her by publicly apologizing while she begged him not to since everyone was watching, but the excited Chen Yuan smiled awkwardly and handed her a bag of food, stating he knew she was angry at him, so he bought her favorite fried pork. Adhering to the simpology teachings, he begged for her forgiveness and requested that she no longer mention the breakup because he would change whatever was wrong with him. At this time, 2 onlookers were discussing Chen Yuan. One mentioned that he has been working 4 part-time jobs outside in order to buy Shutong gifts, and the other girl highlighted his wasted efforts. Despite all his hard work, Shutong has now ended their relationship anyway. Shutong explained to Chen Yuan with a cautious tone that she was not angry. Her ex-boyfriend wanted to get back with her, and after thinking a lot, she felt her ex-boyfriend showed her more interest. Chen Yuan did not take kindly to her reasoning and angrily asked what she considered him to be. He mentioned that her ex-boyfriend, Wang Chun-kai, is a bad person, and has she forgotten that he cheated on her and forced her to have a miscarriage? At this time, a Mercedes pulls up to their location, and at the driver's seat, we see a smugged Wang Chun-kai telling Shutong to get into the car. Shutong proceeds to open the car door, and before entering, she turns to Chen Yuan and warns that it would be better for them not to meet again because she is afraid her boyfriend will misunderstand. After those words, they drove away, leaving Chen Yuan standing alone with the gift he had spent his hard-earned money to get for her. He discards the gift he bought her and proceeds to a nearby supermarket. He drinks bottled water while pondering why his heart always gets betrayed and whether he is really going to be a simp bitch for the rest of his life. He abruptly squeezes the water bottle while reassuring himself that there is nothing wrong with being a simp. With this newfound resolve, his eyes glow red with determination, and suddenly a bright yellow light radiates in the supermarket. He hears a notification sound and freezes in shock as if, responding to his resolve, a system notification is displayed. Ding dong, the strongest system has detected a qualified simp host. System binding was successful. Name, Chen Yuan. Personal wealth, 230 Chinese coins. Strengthening points, 1. Ring dog amount, 90 billion Chinese coins. Chen Yuan was shocked at this development and wondered if this system was some kind of hack. He was interested in exploring the capabilities of this system. As he reaches out to touch it, he sees the chest of a beautiful young lady through the yellow translucent display screen. However, she suddenly screams at him, calling him a pervert and inquiring if he has seen enough and now wanting to get his hands dirty. Chen Yuan froze in horror as cold sweat washed over his blushed red face, and the disgruntled lady with hands folded continued to speak loudly, stating he had been staring at her boobs for quite some time and he must not be right in the head. Chen Yuan notices the system display materializing beside this lady, on which there is information pertaining to her. Name, Su Lele, age, 21 years old, height, 165 centimeters, weight, 49 kilograms, appearance, 7.9 points. This girl's favorability towards the host, minus 50 points. Chen Yuan stared in astonishment at the system's capability before realizing a new notification informing him that, with the help of the simping system, if the woman's favorability towards the host exceeds 95 points, the counterattack will be successful and she will become the host's simp. Still shocked and trying to process all this new information, he reaffirms if the simping money provided by the system is used to spend on women, and most of all, Chen Yuan was surprised that he had as much as $90 billion at his disposal. The system displays a black card and replies with a casual yes. $90 billion in simping gold has been credited to the card, but it can only be used on women, and when the opponent becomes a simp for the host, 1/10 of the amount spent will be rewarded to the host's account and become the host's personal property. The system also states that he is also liable to gain additional rewards. Now up to date on the capabilities and intricacies of this newly discovered system, Chen Yuan's eyes once again glows a dim red as his expression changes to that of cunning. He decides to use this girl, named Su Lele, as a test subject. He abruptly replaces his cunning expression with a welcoming smile and spreads his arm to the side, preparing to initiate with flattery. Beautiful, don't be mad. I will pay for your meal today. The system notifies Chen Yuan that the simping relationship bond has been initiated successfully, and while Su Lele looks on with an emotionless expression, the system notification continues. Mission, counterattack Su Lele. The reward for completing the task is 10% simping gold. Reward, 5, strengthening points. Strengthening points can strengthen the physical attributes of the host, including physical fitness, mental strength, agility, etc. Su Lele suddenly grinned and posed multiple questions to Chen Yuan, asking if he decided on pretending to be rich, if he wants to flirt with her, and if he has what it takes to keep up with her expensive taste. Onlookers in the supermarket quietly whisper that she is Su Lele, the flower of the art department. She is quite powerful and adept at spending other people's money. Once, she made a man spend $30,000 yuan on her with just 3 words, and thus they all assumed Chen Yuan looked like he was going to be in trouble. Chen Yuan smiles with confidence and taunts her. Isn't it true that if she doesn't try, she won't know? Su Lele, happy to oblige, dons a bright smile, holding out her phone with a QR code. She tells him that today she wants to treat all the classmates in the canteen to snacks, so why doesn't Chen Yuan please help with the payment? Su Lele's eyes conveys her cruel intentions as she contemplates her scheme. She thinks to herself that Chen Yuan is dressed like a beggar and is still trying to flirt with her. She will let him know what it means to be truly embarrassed. However, while she is lost in her scheming, Chen Yuan holds his phone to hers, and, to her shocking surprise, her phone notifies her of the successful payment to her Alipay account of $50,000 yuan. All the people in the supermarket froze in shock and started whispering among each other that Chen Yuan is transferring 50,000, like it's chump change, and another person whispered that he looks like a loser, but he's actually a rich kid pretending to be a poor kid. Chen Yuan smiled and, in a nonchalant tone, told Su Lele that 50,000 isn't much and searched for his WeChat contact QR code before holding out his phone to Su Lele and, with a wide smile, asking if it was enough to add her to WeChat. She blushes red in astonishment, wondering if she had really made a mistake, and this guy is really a rich second generation, so she immediately moved closer to Chen Yuan with her cherry lips perched. She then tells him not to worry, as it is totally possible to add her on WeChat, and in a flirtatious voice, she moves even closer to the excited Chen Yuan and tells him there is a condition that he has to go with her to a certain place. The cunning Su Lele thought to herself that she was interested in seeing how long Chen Yuan would last. Sometime later, the streets are busy as Chen Yuan and Su Lele make their way through the crowded streets towards the Gubui store. Su Lele tries to persuade Chen Yuan that she is not a gold digger at all, but she just wants to understand how sincere and serious he is towards her. Chen Yuan, with a blunt expression, tells her that it's not a problem and she should take whatever she wants, knowing that the more Su Lele gets him to spend, the more he will get in return from the system, and she is just a perfect model for testing the simping system. They enter the store, and while Chen Yuan looks at all the shiny and expensive items on display, he hears a familiar voice seeking the opinion of a brother, Chun Kai, as to whether or not a certain bag looks good on her. He turns around to confirm, and to his surprise, it is indeed Shutong, aka Tong Tong, who is also shocked to see Chen Yuan in such a location. They both stared at each other before a loving Su Lele suddenly appeared and got all up in Chen Yuan's personal space as she teased him if that was his ex-girlfriend, and it looks like she came at a bad time. Chen Yuan opened his mouth in surprise at her public display of familiarity, but quickly took a hold of himself, smiled, and reassured her that it was quite the opposite, she actually came at the right time. Su Lele then approached the store clerk and asked if the handbag from their spring sale was still available at this store. The store clerk smiled and responded politely that there was only one left and pointed her hand in the direction of Shutong, explaining that someone was already trying the handbag. Displeased, Shutong glared at Chen Yuan while thinking she couldn't believe he still wouldn't leave her alone, and now she would teach him the difference between a loser and her Chun Kai. Shutong gave her best damsel smile and called out brother Chun Kai, reminding him that her birthday was coming soon while she brandished the same handbag in front of Wang Chun Kai, distracting him from his phone screen. With a slight dissatisfaction, he inquires if she didn't just celebrate her birthday, to which she pouts her lips and argues that it was a birthday based on the lunar calendar and people still have birthdays based on the solar calendar. To this explanation, Wang Chun Kai furrowed his eyebrows before smiling, with a palpable dark aura. He called for her attention, reminding her he does not like materialistic women, and surely she is not with him because of his money. She froze in horror as cold sweat tricked down her sweet cheeks before Su Lele appeared and snatched the handbag from her hands and apologized, stating that if they did not buy the handbag, then she would be taking it. As these events transpire, a new notification pops up notifying Chen Yuan of Su Lele plus 20 increased favorability, after which he allows the clerk to charge his black card, successfully paying for the handbag, and receiving a second notification stating Su Lele favorability has once again increased by 20. Su Lele chuckles happily while clutching her new expensive handbag closely to her lips, while Chen Yuan receives another plus 20 points. Holding the black card in hand, he smiles while thinking that this is the power of money. Simply buying her a bag increased her favorability towards him by a staggering 60 points, and at this rate, allowing her to buy a few more bags will attain her maximum favorability. However, with a cunning expression, he thinks to himself that the amount of money he will get back is too small. While Shutong exudes a palpable rage, the clerks whisper amongst themselves, one turning to the other and addressing her as sisterly, explaining that she does not understand why people who appear wealthy are stingy with their women while those who appear unremarkable are willing to spend tens of thousands without blinking an eye. Sisterly responded to this statement by saying, that is why the store manager taught them not to look down on people and that you cannot judge a man's spending power based on his appearance. Su Lele glanced at the irritated Shutong and chuckled while stating that it is true that a good bag is much like a good man, and it is always wise to grab a hold of one when the opportunity presents itself. While she held her new expensive bag very close, she turned her gaze towards Chen Yuan and vowed she would also grab a hold of this big fish. Su Lele rushed to Chen Yuan's side, brazenly taking hold of his arm. She displayed her sweetest expression, calling him hubby and conveying her gratitude for the bag, stating he is just the sweetest. Chen Yuan, flustered, stared at her big, soft bazookas wrapping around his arm while Shutong, with tears in her eyes, could no longer keep her composure and launched herself towards Chen Yuan, slamming her shoulder into his chest and shouting that he was taking things too far, but Chen Yuan, with a sly smile and his dark intentions palpable, thought to himself that it was quite the opposite, as he was just getting started and they had a long way to go. While Shutong runs out of the store with Wang Chunkai swiftly in pursuit, the system notifies Chen Yuan that a second simping candidate has been acquired. Name: Lin Shutong. Age: 21 years old. Height: 163 centimeters. Weight: 49 kilograms. Appearance: 7.5 points. The girl's favorability towards the host: -10%. When the heroine's favorability towards the host exceeds 95 points, the counterattack is successful, and the candidate will become a fan of Chen Yuan. The reward for a successful counterattack will be 10% of the Simpid gold and 20 strengthening points. Su Lele once again grabs his attention and gets up close and handsy as she questions in a sly tone if he is now at ease, if she has done a good job in helping him get one over on Shutong, and where they will be going next. He smiled with greed as he exclaimed that they would, of course, be visiting more stores and spending a lot more money, affirming that she wouldn't be satisfied with just one bag. Sometime later, Chen Yuan and Su Lele arrived at another store. Su Lele points indiscriminately at various items she likes, and with a confident grin, Chen Yuan hands over his black card and instructs the clerk that apart from the 2 items Su Lele had picked, everything else should also be wrapped. A worker with a few items in hand froze with her mouth open in shock while Su Lele stares at Chen Yuan with love in her eyes, and another worker acknowledges his instructions, reassuring Chen Yuan that they will have all the items delivered to the address of their choosing. As the system informs Chen Yuan of Su Lele's +5 increase in favorability, Su Lele, overjoyed at all the gifts that will be delivered, exudes love. Next, they visited the perfume store, and he casually gave instructions to swipe his card, obtaining another +5 increase in favorability. They moved on to the lipstick store, and again, he casually instructed the clerk to swipe his card, obtaining another +5 increase in favorability. On to the next store, he repeats the same process of offering his card to be swiped and obtains another +5 increased favorability, and they continued this process until Su Lele became tired after their constant moving from store to store. Flushed red and catching her breath, she exclaimed that was enough, and if they continue to buy like this, Su Lele is afraid that all this will not fit into her apartment. To her astonishment, Chen Yuan's nonchalant response was an offer to buy her a new home. Distracted by his phone while doing arithmetic calculations, he failed to realize Su Lele froze in horror because she was frightened by such an offer. A notification pops up notifying Chen Yuan of a 5-point decrease in favorability, as she nervously explains with an uncertain voice that his offer was no good because they had already spent a lot of money, despite this being their first time meeting each other. Chen Yuan scratched his chin while contemplating that his action might have scared her, and after thinking it through, he concluded that indeed, he would also feel scared if some stranger had offered him a house worth millions just like that. Suddenly, he moves up close to her face, and with a smile, he unexpectedly divulges her information in detail. Su Lele, a junior at the College of Fine Arts, is 21 years old, 165 centimeters tall, and weighs 49 kilograms. Her favorite color is black, her favorite food is Korean food, and her zodiac sign is Capricorn. She blushes red and moves her fingers to her lips in shock at the accuracy and detail of the information. He continues by mentioning that her shoe size is 37 and that she likes to watch horror movies, but she is most afraid of walking at night. After listing all her personal details, he informs her that he would not have been so impulsive if he had not taken such a strong liking to her. He then turned to the store clerk and asked if they had a member store card, and he firmly stated that he would top up this card with $500,000, and when Su Lele comes to the store in the future, they should directly recommend only the best to her. The store clerk immediately agreed and politely asked Chen Yuan to wait a moment, and while he waited, he turned to Su Lele, radiating confidence. He reached out to her and stated that if he had scared her, she could consider this card an apology. His loving gestures and calm, soothing voice erased her doubts as her beautiful blue eyes glared at Chen Yuan in awe, her cheeks flushed red and her cherry lips pouring. Chen Yuan moves in close to her ear and whispers, if she was still uncomfortable, then she could offer something interesting in return. Flustered, she shyly pushes his face away and describes him as a bad boy while a system notification pops up notifying Chen Yuan of Su Lele plus a 30-point favorability increase. Seeing all this, the store clerk stood aside, admiring Chen Yuan, and whispered to each other that this boy, despite his humble appearance, is actually so rich, and not only is he rich, but he's also very generous and considerate of the girl's feelings. Chen Yuan adorns a sly smile and thinks to himself that it is true that the effects of a rich man flirting versus the effects of a poor man flirting are totally opposite. Suddenly, Su Lele, with a cute expression, commented that he had bought her so many things and inquired if he would not get something for himself, but Chen Yuan displayed a poor man's expression and explained that he had no money to treat himself to gifts. Su Lele gave a genuine smile, and while she took his hand to lead him, she said that it was her turn to give a gift to Chen Yuan, thinking that if she wants to play a long game and catch a big fish, then she should also invest. After some time, the scene moves across the beautiful city to a clothing store, where we see an excited Su Lele helping Chen Yuan choose the right outfits and then taking him to the barber shop to get a haircut based on her specifications. After a few hours of his fashion makeover, we see Chen Yuan exiting a fitting room, displaying his complete transformation immediately. The system notifies him that Su Lele favorability increased by 5 as she looks on in awe and thinks how handsome he looks when he's all dressed properly and well groomed. The store clerk standing behind Su Lele also blushed and froze in awe at Chen Yuan's beauty, while he received several notifications of Su Lele's favorability increasing by 5. Chen Yuan nervously blushes as Su Lele stares at him like she would a cute little puppy, prompting him to inquire if she liked how he looked and whether he now looked a bit strange. He thinks to himself that this is the first time in his entire existence that he has ever groomed himself to this extent, and how fortunate he was not having to spend any of his own hard-earned money to do so. Su Lele lifted his chin with the tip of her finger, looked him in the eyes with a flirtatious gaze, and explained that there was nothing strange about the way he now looks, just that now she thinks that they genuinely look good together. Unfortunately, the night's shopping spree has come to an end as Su Lele walks away. She blows him a kiss and informs him that she had a great time thanks to her brother Chen Yuan, and for a few moments she thought she was actually in love. The system also notifies Chen Yuan that her current favorability is 68 points, after which he heads back to his dorm room, loudly informing all the boys of his return. His roommates are immediately taken aback by the brand new-looking Chen Yuan as one inquires what he has been doing all day and why he is dressed so fancy. Chen Yuan paid attention to his phone and casually mentioned that he went on a date with Su Lele, captivating his roommate's attention. An interrogation ensued as one of the guys asked, how can he already be pursuing Su Lele despite not having decided the final outcome with Shutong? The other roommate adjusted his glasses like a true strategist, reminding Chen Yuan that Su Lele is the beauty of the art department. Addressing Chen Yuan as an old man, he tells him that this is why he constantly gets dumped and that he needs to act according to his ability. Another roommate suddenly appears and places an arm around him, and with a confident smirk on his face, he states Chen Yuan should heed his advice. These girls are not attainable by mere mortals like himself. With a look of discomfort, Chen Yuan smiled and expressed his not-so-sincere appreciation for the advice before returning his gaze to his phone screen, and it is no surprise that Shutong has unblocked Chen Yuan. In her message, she tells him that if he really hates her, then they should just delete each other from WeChat, but Chen Yuan is no longer the same simp bitch that would fall for her psychological manipulations. While staring at his phone, he displays the expression of a Chad in training and contemplates the fact that she is trying to mess with his mentality, and if they delete each other, then he will no longer be able to earn extra cash from Shutong's favorability. Chen Yuan replied, questioning how she could think such a thing. How could he hate her? After all, she will always hold a special place in his heart. Classic Chad reply, young men of culture, take notes. She then goes on to explain that being with Huang Junkai is not because she is a gold digger, but because her mother is ill and needs $50,000 yuan to cover her medical expenses. Immediately, Chen Yuan transferred $50,000 yuan to Shutong's account, surprising both Shutong and her roommate, who shouted in shock and surprise. Shutong exclaimed to her roommate that she just mentioned her mother's medical bills casually, and he actually transferred all the money to cover the expense. Her surprised roommate pried at her WeChat conversation and inquired as to who was so generous as to send a transfer of $50,000 and could it be Chen Yuan, but Shutong furrowed her brows and, giving her roommate a better view of her WeChat, said that to hell with Chen Yuan, and it was actually Chen Yuan who transferred the money to her. The surprised roommate exclaimed, "Chen Yuan? Didn't she just dump him earlier today?" But who could have guessed a poor-looking bastard like Chen Yuan was so rich? While Shutong anxiously composed a reply on her Apple smartphone, she pondered whether or not she had made a big mistake by treating Chen Yuan the way she did, but immediately dismissed the thought and decided she would have to question Chen Yuan directly. Chen Yuan is notified of her plus 5-point increase in favorability before receiving several replies in which she inquires what the meaning of all this is and where did he get this much money. Even in the store today he was spending a lot, and she would also like to know what his relationship with Su Lele is and did he also buy her that expensive bag? She sends him the shy, inquisitive cat sticker before asking if he is one of those guys who is actually rich but hides it from Chen Yuan. The conversation is starting to look one-sided as she is getting no reply, but she persists and informs Chen Yuan that she wants to eat guabao pork with the moping emoji followed by the cute begging cat sticker. After a while of getting no reply, she sent a message inquiring if he no longer loved her, accompanied by the crying emoji. Gloomy and disappointed at the fact she is being ignored by Chen Yuan, she continues to send several messages. However, after seeing the numerous unread messages from Shutong, he proceeds to add her to his Do Not Disturb message list. With a slight look of dissatisfaction, Chen Yuan contemplates the fact that, compared to Su Lele, Shutong now appears to be a bit annoying. After refocusing on his phone, Chen Yuan considered other locations where he could lawfully spend money on women. Chen Yuan then clicked the shark-shaped application icon on his phone to check out the live streaming service. After launching the application, he was immediately exposed to the popular live stream of a beautiful young lady going by the name of Xiao Meyer, as a notification states that there is still an hour left before Meyer's live stream ends, so if anyone wants to send her gifts, they will have to hurry. Chen Yuan enters the live chat under the name Lonely Smoke and begins to read the comments where many fans are complimenting Meyer. One fan with the nickname Reasonable Depihu laments that his wife was very angry when she found out that he was watching Xiao Meyer live stream and that she had already divorced him. Another commentator under the username Siagigi replied, stating that Reasonable Depihu can deceive himself, but he should not try to deceive his fellow brothers of culture because no one will believe he actually had a wife. While other commenters Cockite and Burning Pigeons confirmed their agreement with Xiaojiji's statement, Chen Yuan, aka Lonely Smoke, informed Xiao Meyer of his desire to be her number one and inquired if that would be okay with her. Seeing Chen Yuan comment, the commenter that goes by the name Top of the Earth's Charm comments that he is laughing so hard and Chen Yuan should stop dreaming because instead of Chen Yuan, he would be taking the number one spot on the Xiao Meyer list. Another commenter by the name of Xiajet chimes in and reminds Chen Yuan that Xiao Meyer is number one on the streaming platform, which means he would have to spend more than 1 million to be her number one, so had better find a factory and start working immediately. Burning Pigeons also adds another comment, stating that 1 million is definitely out of Chen Yuan's budget, so he will be more realistic and suggest that if he can get 100,000, he will then stand on his head and eat waste material. The commenter Kakarot called Chen Yuan a fool and stated that Chen Yuan would not be able to tip her $100,000. After that, this group of commentators started laughing amongst each other. Looking at his phone with a sly grin, Chen Yuan thinks to himself that $1 million is a much faster way to spend money than simply buying fancy bags, and apparently he has come to the right place as he selects the rocket icon from the many gift icons. Upon receiving the rocket, Xiao Meyer showed the heart gesture and thanked the Lonely Smoke for the rocket, but as she was about to continue expressing her love, she immediately froze in awe, her eyes and mouth open wide in disbelief as Chen Yuan spammed her broadcast with more rocket gifts. Seeing a total of 100 rockets, Xiao Meyer and the commenters were all amazed, shocked, and froze in disbelief as they contemplated that 100 rockets would equate to 1 million yuan. Once more, the commenters chime in on the chat, comparing who amongst themselves was rich and who was faking it. Chen Yuan watched as they bickered among themselves, compared, and looked down on each other. Concluding that these men were some real snobs, he expressed a sinister smile and decided he would give them one more shock of their lives as he once again started spamming the rocket gift times 900. At this time, in a faraway corporate building, a man is heard shouting frantically, "Boss! Something big has happened. An unknown tycoon has just swiped $10 million in the Xiao Meyer livestream." The boss, shocked at this sudden news, spilled the water he was drinking and immediately inquired with a menacing glare if it was one of their trustees, while he also pondered that $10 million is a lot and could it also be related to money laundering? At the same time, a group of excited girls in the streamer's restroom were having a discussion amongst themselves. One girl blushingly stated that the rich guy ID is Lonely Smoke, a peerless tycoon, and they should hurry to send him a private message, while another girl explained in awe that this guy just spent $10 million on Xiao Meyer. Just a few tips from this guy are enough to cover their salary for several months. As Chen Yuan continues to focus on his phone, he sees that he is now receiving numerous friend requests from these streamer girls. Xiao Meyer, still frozen with shock at the current events that just took place, questions herself if it's all a dream because did someone really just give her 10 million? She pinches herself to confirm she is indeed awake and not dreaming, then suddenly a bell rings, and a young man stands to the side, holding a sign above his head with a message intended for Xiao Meyer. The boss said, "Make sure you get that Lonely Smoke guy, and I'll give you a 10% raise." Xiao Meyer reads this message, and with a sly expression, she thinks to herself that the boss is right and she won't just give up her sugar daddy to some other bitches. She turned to the camera, and with a wink, she proceeded to thank Chen Yuan for the rockets, then instructed him to send her a private message, and there she would thank him properly. A few moments later, Chen Yuan's device received a personal message notification from Xiao Meyer inquiring if he was still there and then trying to inform him that she would be off the stream in the next 5 minutes. After a while, with no reply, she informs him that she is sending him a private message and he should answer her, but Chen Yuan's already fast asleep while muttering something to himself about his sister. The next day, Chen Yuan's unorthodox actions made the hot news list under the hot search list. The hottest topic was about a mysterious rich man who appeared as a shark and offered a crazy reward of $10 million in half an hour. His identity remains a mystery. The second hot topic was about Su Yuyu being in Super Chat every day, and the third was about Ukexin City auctions sky-high prices for their treasures. The fourth hot topic mentioned that it's better to lose face when wandering around Tata Palace, and the fifth hot topic was about an uncle gang who had succeeded in pursuing his dream. The student shouts to his friends, imploring them to check out the search engine because it stated that some rich guy had tipped $10 million in less than half an hour on the live stream last night. As his eyes gleam with admiration, he thinks this guy is so rich that he could buy a dozen suites in his hometown, and he also wishes he had this kind of money. After a long night, Chen Yuan slowly opens his eyes and, hearing their conversation, exclaims that Lao Chao dares to think that if he is in possession of 1,000,000 yuan, he will wake up laughing. Ha! In his dreams. Chen Yuan heads to the bathroom, where he is now brushing his teeth while thinking he spent so much money yesterday, but it turns out that he did not establish any binding relationship with Xiao Meyer, which means all the money he spent would not yield any returns. Upon reviewing the system, he enters the original Treasure Quasi-System relationship menu, where it shows the simping relationship binding list, which only lists Su Lele and Lin Shutong. Chen Yuan, turning his attention to the phone app once more, ponders if the binding has to be in real life, and did he really waste his money? Chen Yuan is puzzled by the 99+ pending notifications alert displayed on the Shark Live app icon, and as he proceeds to open the app, he is greeted by numerous private messages from multiple young ladies, including Xiao Meyer, who inquired as to why Lonely Smoke weren't replying to her messages, followed by sad emojis. Another young lady mentioned she is a good girl and inquired if they could meet each other. The next stated she was a 28-year-old divorced woman, and she was looking forward to meeting a Lonely Smoke. The next gave some parameters, followed by kissing emojis, and another called him brother, urging him to visit her studio and exclaiming she would be waiting. Seeing so many private messages, Chen Yuan, now concerned, nervously pondered if he was digging a hole in the chicken coop while his roommates were excitedly leaving the room. One exclaimed that he was looking forward to it, while another exclaimed that they should hurry because it was getting late and there wouldn't be a good seat. Hearing this, Chen Yuan turned to his roommates and inquired as to where they were going without him, to which one roommate with a surprised expression answered, stating that of course they were going to class as today was a public class, so they would get a chance to appreciate the gods Zhao Yuqi up close. The glasses guy tilted his glass and chimed in, stating Chen Yuan would normally beat them to the classes on such days, even going as far as not wanting to leave after the classes were over. "Stop beating around the bush, let's go. Let's go!" exclaimed the last guy while waiting impatiently. Suddenly, Chen Yuan remembers the beautiful Zhao Yuqi, and the scene shifts to a classroom, where a beautiful young lady fiddles with her hair while she reads from a book in front of a class filled with attentive students. Zhao Yuqi, the campus beauty of Hunan University and vice president of the student union, is the dream of all boys. In addition, she is currently at level 10 and playing the piano, chairman of the ballet club, and a second-level athlete in fencing. Her outstanding talents, coupled with her superb beauty, make her very difficult to approach. Chen Yuan thinks to himself that this beautiful woman who stands apart from the rest of the world has been at their university for 3 years, and no one has been able to conquer this lonely mountain. Unbeknownst to Chen Yuan, all the ladies are admiring how handsome he now looks, as one young lady whispered loudly that he is so handsome, to which the other young lady also inquired if Chen Yuan was from another department, as she had never seen him before. "He's so handsome." Chen Yuan adorns a mischievous, shadowy stare as he thinks to himself, if the mountain is so hard to climb, then wouldn't that imply that it must be worth a lot of money? While Chen Yuan was deep in thought, Shutong friend looked towards him and inquired if that was Chen Yuan, exclaiming that she had never seen him look so handsome in a while, and did he get all dressed up for Shutong? Shutong, with a smile, blushed and answered, questioning whether that might be the case, but she has brother Junkai now and her heart is in turmoil as she thinks about a scenarios of the two guys getting into a fight to earn her. Chen Yuan gets a notification that Shutong favorability is increasing by 10. Shutong favorability increased by 10 again and again, prompting Chen Yuan to gaze at her with displeasure from the corner of his eye as he thinks to himself that just a change of clothes and her favorability starts going up. She is truly a shallow woman. Chen Yuan then chose to ignore Shutong and instead paid attention to his system window, wondering how he would be able to add Zhao Yuqi. He is suddenly distracted by an outburst in the class, and as he looks in the direction of the disturbance, he sees 3 young men standing. One young man exclaims, "Come on, boss, let's see how God's Zhao is conquered by you." To which the boss replied that he would show them how he would get her to fall in love with him. As his henchmen all cheered him on, he approached Zhao Yuqi with all the confidence of a man accustomed to winning. Abruptly, he reached out to Zhao Yuqi and, in a flirtatious voice, exclaimed, "Baby, give me your WeChat account." Zhao Yuqi froze in shock at this sudden development, while a young lady that was standing next to Zhao Yuqi looked at the guy with disgust, wondering how he could be so brazen as to approach her beautiful Yuqi so publicly and shamelessly utter such words. She then inquired what his intentions were, but he ignored the young lady and continued his advance, getting even closer. He instructed Zhao Yuqi to add him on WeChat so they could get to know each other and suggested that they should be friends, but as he was about to continue, he was suddenly grabbed by his shirt and pulled aside by the exasperated young lady whom he had ignored. This young lady, named Wu Xiaofei, expressed her frustration towards the young man while armed with a sharp pen, and while displaying her vile intent, she questioned if he was looking for death and further demanded that he explain what he was planning on doing to her sweet Yuqi. He trembled with fear, and cold sweat washed over his face as he cowardly explained that there was a misunderstanding and that he simply wanted to join the student union, and he knows Ms. Zhao is the vice president, so he wanted to ask for advice. Wu Xiaofei did not buy his nonsensical excuse, and while pricking him with the pen, she exclaimed that he was a creep who did not know his place and that his excuse was a lame one for picking up a girl's. Wounded by the sharp pen, he howled in pain while she continued to berate the young man, stating that he was a wimp and a greaseball, a mangy toad trying to eat a goose. While Zhao Yuqi sits with Xiaofei, trying to get her to calm down, Chen Yuan suddenly approaches and confidently proposes that Zhao Yuqi should also add him to WeChat. Zhao Yuqi, like the beautiful goddess she is, turns around in surprise and awe at the confidence of this mere mortal, while Xiaofei's fury is now palpable as her veins bulge as a result of her anger at the fact that another mortal dared to approach her goddess so casually. Wu Xiaofei has dark thoughts, inquiring to herself why so many guys have suddenly gathered courage to approach her goddess today, but this guy is also brave. He is not afraid he will lose face in front of all these people. Chen Yuan smiled and held out his phone with a QR code to Zhao Yuqi, inquiring if she would be so kind as to oblige his request. Xiaofei ponders why Chen Yuan has gained his courage to approach Zhao Yuqi and thinks maybe it's due to the young man's audacious approach earlier. She exclaims that Chen Yuan is more handsome than the last guy, and with a condescending smile, she inquires if this young man also intended to join the student union. But to her astonishment, Chen Yuan, with a gleeful smile, replied in a casual fashion that he had no interest in joining the student union. With a surprised yet perplexed expression, she folds her arms and inquires as to what other reason there could be for Chen Yuan to want Yuqi's WeChat. With the confidence bestowed on him by the gods, Chen Yuan offered Zhao Yuqi his hand and replied with a confident, soothing yet masculine tone, "I want to make her mine." For a quick moment, you could hear Zhao Yuqi's heart skipping a beat, her cheeks flushed red, eyes wide open in admiration of her Prince Charming, lips apart as if she were trying to catch her last breath. The other guys are in an uproar at Chen Yuan's audacity in trying to accomplish the impossible, to hunt the goddess Zhao Yuqi. One guy exclaimed, "Damn it! Here he goes again." And another exclaimed, "What a fierce guy!" While the other commends his confidence but also highlights the fact that Chen Yuan will later cry miserably with equal intensity. Zhao Yuqi showed a slight smile of intrigue before revealing her phone while agreeing to scan WeChat. Shocked at this sudden development, Shutong's friend was taken aback and questioned Shutong as to whether Chen Yuan was or wasn't her sugar daddy. "What's wrong with you guys?" she exclaimed while Shutong looked towards Chen Yuan and Zhao Yuqi with ferocity. Chen Yuan thinks to himself that they all love a beautiful woman, so why should they hide their interest? The other guys gather to the side, crying angrily and heartbroken as one exclaims, "Damn it, this guy actually succeeded." While another exclaimed, "My goddess will actually get clapped by this pig." Chen Yuan, with a smile on his face, wondered whoever said simplicity is a bad thing because, somehow, the most obvious is sometimes the most effective, and what woman doesn't like being chased? With this, the Simping System pops up a notification alerting Chen Yuan to the successful relationship binding of Zhao Yuqi to the Simping System. Binding object, Zhao Yuqi, current favorability, 0. Chen Yuan gleefully thinks to himself that it was definitely worth it coming to classes today. Classes are over for the day, and the campus is buzzing with students moving about, as are Chen Yuan and his roommates. One guy excitedly stated that Brother Yuan was on fire today. He actually got Zhao Yuqi WeChat. Another roommate agreed and added that Chen Yuan has changed so much recently that he now looks like a true Chad. One guy then inquired if Chen Yuan could ask Zhao Yuqi to introduce some of her friends to his roommates if the two ever actually end up dating each other, but Chen Yuan blushed slightly, exclaiming that he doesn't know the future and Zhao Yuqi is the school's beauty while he is a nobody, so these guys should quit talking nonsense. Suddenly, an unfriendly voice echoes from behind, referring to Chen Yuan as a loser with a sense of self-awareness, prompting Chen Yuan to turn around to the three young men, one of whom was the guy who was unsuccessful in his approach to Zhao Yuqi, Liang Jingru. "Boy, you are wise," he exclaimed while they all glared at Chen Yuan menacingly, but this does not scare Chen Yuan, as he casually replies that Liang Jingru is the professional and he will instead learn more from him. Chen Yuan's roommates all stand behind him, puzzled as to what's taking place. One mentions that Chen Yuan is so arrogant to start a war without hesitation, and another agrees with his statement, while the third gasps with surprise and questions Chen Yuan if he really intends on starting a group fight. Liang Jingru is furious at Chen Yuan's reaction and shouts angrily at Chen Yuan, asking, "What the bleep is he talking about? You're just a blind cat running into a dead rat. What are you so proud of? Do you know who I am?" Liang Jingru tries to advance, but his friends struggle to keep him under control from starting a fight due to the fact that he has already been warned that if he starts a fight again, he will be getting a demerit, and upon hearing this explanation, Chen Yuan frowned, turned away, and referred to them as elementary students. Chen Yuan suddenly froze in shock at the arrival of Su Lele as she greeted him with a complaint stating that he has been very slow and she has been waiting on him for quite a long time. Chen Yuan's roommates, Liang Jingru and his followers, and many more students now gather behind Chen Yuan with their mouths wide open. Awestruck, they beam with excitement as someone mentions that it's Su Lele from the School of Arts, number 6 on the school beauty list, and nicknamed the Male Crusher. Chen Yuan stated that he'll be damned if he keeps a girl waiting for so long and requested a chance to buy her dinner to make amends. She chuckled slightly and, with a smile, questioned Chen Yuan with a flirtatious tone if he thought she was looking good in the clothes that he had bought for her. Chen Yuan replied that no one looks better in clothes, and the bag also looked best when she was wearing it. Unbeknownst to them, in the crowd was a scary-looking Shutong, her malice growing ever so palpable as she just stood there, biting her lip, and stared intently at Chen Yuan and Su Lele walking away. Su Lele takes a hold of Chen Yuan's arm, and they walk alongside each other like lovers while she inquires if all that he is saying is true because people will take it seriously, to which Chen Yuan replies that naturally the truth of his words is more real than pure gold. Liang Jingru grips his fist tightly and bursts into tears, exclaiming he doesn't understand what's wrong with him. It seems he is just one step behind, but before he can finish his statement, he hears a loud female screaming. She doesn't understand what's wrong with her as well. Liang Jingru looks in the direction of the sobbing voice, wondering if he was being mocked, but to his surprise, he sees a miserable Shutong crying a river and cursing to herself. "Who are you to blame me? You are more wrong than I am. Why? It was obviously me who came first. Who the hell is she?" After Su Lele and Chen Yuan reached their destination, she called out to him, and with a happy, excited expression, she showed him a pencil-drawn portrait of himself, saying that it was a gift for him and that she had stayed up all night working on it. Her smile then turned into a playful frown as she pouted and mentioned that if he dared to get rid of this portrait or treat it casually, she would not forgive his actions. Chen Yuan looked at her and the portrait in disbelief while thinking to himself that this is the first time since birth that he has ever received a gift from a girl. While Su Lele displayed her best smile and inquired if he liked his gift, Chen Yuan stared at the portrait for a while with a blank expression before slightly lowering his head with the realization that Su Lele is just like a spider spinning her web, adding attractive bait, and laying in wait with all intentions of catching a fat, nutritious prey. From the moment he started financing her and her luxurious lifestyle, she started scheming a plan to trap him. But Chen Yuan adorns a sinister smile as his eyes depict a slight red glow. He thinks to himself that it's a shame because he's no longer the same bitch simp of a person he used to be. Puzzled at his facial expression, Su Lele, realizing that Chen Yuan didn't seem too happy, nervously pondered if it was because he did not like the gift. Suddenly Chen Yuan breaks the silence and asks, with a slight authoritative tone and a slight look of disdain, why he was being presented with a gift. Su Lele found the question to be a bit awkward and replied that she made it by staying up late, and if he didn't like it, Chen Yuan abruptly grabbed the portrait from her hands and brought his face very close to hers as he locked eye contact with her. Su Lele blushed with her lips slightly apart as he grinned and inquired, if that were not the case, then how would she also respond if she did not receive such a good gift in the future? Relieved that Chen Yuan was only playing with her, she playfully shouts, "You're a dead man. You bastard. Give me back the painting." Chen Yuan also playfully jumps away, refusing to return the portrait, explaining that he wants to start a collection of art and use this portrait as an heirloom. He then grabbed a hold of Su Lele's wrist and moved in closer, creating a romantic atmosphere by holding eye contact as if to pierce into her soul, and with a seductive voice, he informed her that he certainly liked her more in person than he does any of her gifts. Su Lele also held eye contact, seemingly frozen in time. She blushes with a spark of love in her eyes while she thinks to herself, "Damn, he's good at flirting." The system then notified Chen Yuan of her +5 increase in favorability as he adorned a sinister smile while he thought to himself she wanted him to be her simp but insisted she should embrace being a good tool and help to line his pockets with gold. He is about to continue when suddenly the hand of a man swiftly comes between them, frightening both Chen Yuan and Su Lele. This glasses guy shouts with tears in his eyes and a runny nose, inquiring if Su Lele did not mention that she was getting her nails done with her girlfriends. Then who is this guy? With a look of anger and frustration, he questioned if Chen Yuan was so good at doing her nails, so much so that they were inclined to hug each other. He then pointed towards Chen Yuan while shouting at Su Lele, inquiring if it was because this guy is rich why she even gave him a hug. He has been chasing after her for so long and she won't even let him touch her hands. While he continues to argue with Su Lele, Chen Yuan stared at him with a slight look of confusion, concluding that this unlucky bastard seemed to be Su Lele's little bitch Simp, and he was all too familiar with this kind of treatment. Su Lele, infuriated, glared at this young man and finally broke her silence with a stern question. Who the hell are you to me? She informs him that it is none of his business whether she has a partner or not, and then suddenly Chen Yuan steps in between the two. Politely introducing himself as Chen Yuan, he then inquires as to what the young man's name is and for how long he has been chasing Su Lele, leaving both Su Lele and the young man puzzled. The young man, stuttering with uncertainty, replies that his name is Wang Yu, from the Department of Fine Arts, and he has been chasing after Su Lele for half a year. Chen Yuan's head slumped downward as he sighed heavily and exclaimed, "Oh, a lost cause." He then lifted his head, striking a dazzling cool pose, and stated, "Young brother, I also chased a girl for 3 years. I worked 4 odd jobs and ate steamed buns with pickles every day, but in the end she chose to sit in someone else's Mercedes-Benz." With a serious expression, Chen Yuan leans in closer to Wang Yu and informs the young man that those who turn their backs on them will be their motivation for self-improvement, and why should a real man not want a decent woman? With that said, Chen Yuan strikes another dignified pose and instructs Wang Yu to return to his dormitory, forget about her, work hard, make a name for himself, and make her regret her choice. Wang Yu, now motivated by Chen Yuan's version of a pep talk, cries and beams with determination to stay strong and make lots of money. Su Lele, on the other hand, gets freaked out at the sight of Wang Yu actually crying and wonders what in the world is going on. She stutters, Chen Yuan. He's just a friend of mine. I didn't realize, but before she finished her statement, Chen Yuan, with a swift look over his shoulder, reassured her that he did not care about her past, but he felt like she did not respect him very much, nor did she respect herself. While scolding Su Lele, Chen Yuan turned to face her, held the portrait to her face, and while ripping it to shreds, she froze in bewilderment at Chen Yuan's manly articulation and actions. Chen Yuan informs her that she is still allowed to use the card he gave her yesterday, but from now on they should no longer meet until she gets her previous relationships in order. Chen Yuan walks away, and Su Lele hesitates to reach out to him as scraps of the portrait scatter through the air between the two as if to symbolize the existence of their relationship shattering before her eyes. With a sinister expression, Chen Yuan ponders how she will handle the assignment, and he is patiently looking forward to seeing the results. Damn, RMC has turned into an S-class Chad. As he walked away from Su Lele, tears fell from her eyes, and she recalled her time spent with Chen Yuan, thinking to herself that this is the first time someone has ever treated her with such kindness, respect, love, and appreciation. She continued to tear up, coming to the realization that he really liked her, but she screwed up big time. While Chen Yuan walks down the steps, he receives a notification of Su Lele +5 increased favorability and thinks to himself that it seems that women really can't stop themselves from loving bad boys, and in terms of maturity, he has also grown again. Chen Yuan turned his gaze to his phone and thought to himself that Su Lele's favorability was now at a considerable high level, so it was now time to shift his focus to Zhao Yuqi, who was currently hosting a live broadcast. Zhao Yuqi was sitting in front of a piano while she greeted her audience, stating that her name is Chi-Chi. She is a trainee who has been live broadcasting for 2.5 days. Her specialty is singing, dancing, and piano. Please take care of me. Chen Yuan thinks the characteristics she described are cute and wonders. Could it be that President Zhao is cold on the outside, but on the inside she is a truly warm-hearted person? Taking note of her 2.7K popularity, Chen Yuan gasps in shock and thinks to himself, This could not be right, could it? Suddenly, his thoughts are interrupted by a message from Xiao Meyer expressing her joy to see the lonely Smoke back online, but Chen Yuan seems to have forgotten who she is. Xiao Meyer playfully replies to his question about who she is and states that he gave her a bunch of rockets yesterday and has already forgotten who she is. Chen Yuan tries to play it off with a laugh, stating that he was joking, then asks if she has been free lately and suggests they should meet up sometime. Xiao Meyer responded that he was being so impatient, her schedule has been so full since recently, but Chen Yuan nonchalantly replied, "Oh, then never mind." She begs him not to be angry because she will do a special dance for Chen Yuan on her live stream, but Chen Yuan reads her reply and thinks to himself that she still insists on trying to trick him into sending her more rocket gifts. With palpable fury, Chen Yuan stares at her messages and thinks to himself that he doesn't even have her bound to his system, so giving her $10 million will simply be him throwing away his money, so he might as well give it to President Zhao. Immediately, a notification from the application pops up stating that the anchor he is following is currently competing. Come and cheer for her. Suddenly, a surprised Wu Xiaofei shouted, "Chi-Chi, someone is trying to challenge you. I hope it's not a big anchor." Zhao Yuqi froze with a puzzling look as she wondered who this undisclosed anchor could be. On the other hand, an excited Chen Yuan looks on impatiently as he thinks to himself that President Zhao is going to battle with another streamer, and it should be rather fun to watch. We then see a very confident Xiao Meyer addressing the audience, stating that she accidentally got matched with a new girl, thus she is sure to win, but unbeknownst to her, Chen Yuan will be the deciding factor in who wins. With a sinister smile, Chen Yuan states that it's hard to tell who's going to be the winner or loser until the end, and it's really a strange coincidence that these two ladies actually matched with each other. Zhao Yuqi versus Xiao Meyer, and it has started. Zhao Yuqi is playing the piano while Xiao Meyer does a seductive dance, and so far Zhao Yuqi seems to only have one supporter tipping her stars times 7, while Xiao Meyer has multiple fans tipping her stars times 66, crowns times 32, and Jupiter times 25. Zhao Yuqi points stand at $206, while Xiao Meyer points stand at $10,687. Xiao Meyer exclaims, "Damn it, girl, you should take a break. Your piano skills are broken more so than her dance," but she also has the backing of a wealthy man like her brother Yan. The chat room is buzzing, as one user questioned, "Brother Yan? Is he the rich man who paid $10 million yesterday?" Another person mentioned that that was a very big number and questioned if Brother Yan was really trapped by Xiao Meyer so quickly. The only guy supporting Zhao Yuqi commented, "I'm sorry, Chi-Chi. I rebelled. Xiaomi's headlights are too big." Xiao Meyer, with a cunning expression, recalls her earlier chat with Chen Yuan and thinks to herself that, with her farming skills, she is sure this smoky guy must already be on the hook. Suddenly, Xiao Meyer sees a huge rocket appear and immediately exclaims, "Ah! Brother Yan is here. Thank you, Brother Yan." She is about to continue but froze in horror at the sudden realization that not only was the rocket not donated to her, but there were now several rockets all going to Zhao Yuqi, making the score, Zhao Yuqi, $152,456 and Xiao Meyer, $10,687. This. How? Xiao Meyer stutters as applications show the notification, "A lonely Smoke sends a gift to a little cute Chi-Chi, times 1,000. Zhao Yuqi and Wu Xiaofei with draws dropped exclaimed, 1,000 coins? While Xiao Meyer enters a dark state of mind, thinking to herself that this was hurtful, and why were all those rockets not given to her? Suddenly, a notification to get her attention sounds, and a worried-looking guy appears with a poster message reading, "The boss called and said that he wants an explanation from you about what happened just now." Xiao Meyer nervously turned to the camera, apologized to her fans, and explained that she had something to do, so she will be going offline for now. The notification that the anchor is offline appears while the users in the chat pass various bad remarks. One user laughed. "Ha ha ha ha, you were slapped in the face, right?" Another stated Brother Yan is so powerful that Xiao Meyer is now autistic. Ha 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 ha. Another stated that just now she said that Yan was always her patron, but then she turned around and Mr. Yan was giving gifts to other women. Chen Yuan continued reading the group chat with an evil expression and thought to himself that if he could give Xiao Meyer a gift, wouldn't it occur to her that he could also give someone else a gift, and yet she had the audacity to think she could pin him down with just a smile on her face? He looks at the Zhao Yuqi livestream and, with a scheming facial expression, states internally, "President Zhao, I have spent a lot of money, don't let me down." At the Shark streaming headquarters, someone is once again shouting "Boss." Something big happened again. The Shark employee burst into the boss's office to explain what happened. The boss, covered in cold sweat, abruptly jumped up in astonishment, slapping his hands on the desk and exclaiming, "Another 10 million?" And he thinks to himself, could this guy be the crown prince of Middle East oil? There's also an uproar in the streamer's restroom. The girls, all awestruck, gasp at their phone screens, and one exclaims that the Great Smokey swiped $10 million for a piano player. Another inquired if this meant Smokey liked music, and the other immediately shouted to Xiaoli, requesting that she get her triangular iron quickly and that Xiaoli should also bring her Suona. The night ended with a bang, and a new day dawned. The hottest topic on the Weibo news site is titled "The Mysterious Tycoon Had $10 million in spendthrift money," and the great new anchor has topped the ranking. While Wu Xiaofei browses the hot topics on Weibo, she suddenly shouts, "Chi-Chi, look! Your live broadcast today has been trending." She further exclaimed with excitement that Zhao Yuqi would now be popular and would become an internet celebrity. Zhao Yuqi then looks at her phone to confirm this and is immediately taken aback by the authenticity of this information. Her eyes and mouth are wide open, and she is rendered speechless. However, she quickly gets a hold of herself, and with a serious expression, she poses a question, "Internet celebrity? Humph. Trying to please men online is not a long-term solution." She turns to Wu Xiaofei with a serious glare and states that the most important thing for a woman is to have a career. Financial and personal independence. Got it? Wu Xiaofei made a slight disappointed expression and confirmed that she understood, so Zhao Yuqi should stop giving her a lecture. She then leaned in close to Zhao Yuqi and, with a mischievous expression, whispered to Zhao Yuqi that she should tell the truth. Did she know the guy who gave her the gift? Zhao Yuqi blushed nervously, fiddled with her necklace, and brushed her inquisitive friend aside, reminding her that she had already told her many times that she didn't know who it was, believe it or not. Wu Xiaofei gave up on her curiosity and nervously implored her friend not to be mad at her. She was just curious, that's all. But despite Zhao Yuqi's righteous acts, she is a woman after all, and Wu Xiaofei looks at her with great suspicion as Zhao Yuqi stares at her phone with a look of deep interest. She blushes and makes the excuse that he has given her so many gifts, so she should at least send him a private message to thank him. A cute Wu Xiaofei looks over her shoulder towards Zhao Yuqi with a worried expression. Her inner thoughts pose a question, who just said that making a man happy is not a long-term solution? She says one thing but does another. Suddenly Zhao Yuqi lets out a loud shout, scaring Wu Xiaofei, who accidentally breaks the ring light out of fright. Wu Xiaofei then turns slowly, and with a gloomy WTF expression, she asks what happened, only to see a flustered Zhao Yuqi holding out her phone and stating, Xiaofei, I may really know this rich man, I think it's Chen Yuan."